Jeevan's changed behavior enraged Hansika. She didn't know the reason for the change. After knowing the reason, will she succeed in getting Jeevan's love again? When Hansika returned from college, Jeevan was reading the paper. The son was playing with his play equipment in the veranda. His school uniform had not been changed. A glass filled with milk was kept on the table. Hansika got angry after seeing her son in that condition. But she did not express her anger. She said to her husband, "See, Jeevan, you are busy reading the newspaper. There, Abhishek has not drunk the glass of milk. We should pay a little attention whether he has drunk milk or not. Moreover, his uniform has also not been changed." Wrinkles appeared on Jeevan's forehead. "It's not my business to see all this," he said sharply. "How can you say like that? The maid has not come from 2 days. Sometimes I come late from college, but I have to do everything myself," said Hansika and made Abhishek drink milk. "For how long can I tolerate this? There is no hope that Jeevan's nature will change. Everything was nice till 1 year after our marriage, and all was well. Jeevan used to praise me for small things. There was a lot of joy in the house. Now cries of anger are coming out from the walls. The house that used to be fragrant with the fragrance of happiness is now in ruins. Our son is always scared." Hansika was thinking like this. Now there is no praising. Instead, Jeevan always speaks in a sarcastic manner with me and also with anger. Perhaps my success must have created pressure and competition in his mind. There is always some dispute between us. Initially, our fights were limited to only quarreling and blaming each other. But now it has reached to pulling my hair, kicking me, and beating me. Nothing like that happened. That day I had told my mother in law that it was the time to give milk for Abhishek. Instead, you are giving him fried spicy groundnuts and biscuits. Jeevan had got so angry then. Jeevan had thrown the plate which had biscuits and peanuts on it, and the plate broke. Auntie from the neighboring house came hearing its sound. Then I had to lie telling that Abhishek had thrown away the plate and it broke. It is the son who provides respite to our strife. Crying loudly, "Dad, leave mom, she will be hurt," he says. Both of us are well educated. Yet we argue like uneducated people. What should I do? I don't understand anything. I bring all the stuff home myself. I pay for my son's medicines and school expenses. However, Jeevan keeps his face frowned always. Rarely he laughs, which sounds artificial. How beautiful our life was then. I don't know if it has disappeared now. Thinking like this, Hansika handled the housework. She did her son's homework. Then she gave a cup of coffee to Jeevan and said, "Have coffee." Jeevan said, "Okay." Jeevan came and sat down for dinner. Outside in the lawn, the sound of beetles, the wind, and the chattering of the trees were heard. Suddenly, Jeevan's face turned red and said, "There is less salt in the curry. How can I eat?" Hansika's patience broke. She was tired with her son's studies, market work, and household chores. She yelled, Tell the cook if the salt is low. Am I responsible for everything? You are watching yourself. I have not sat at ease for a moment since coming out of college. You come from college and read the paper first, then change clothes and turn on TV, she said. Then Jeevan said, well said. All mothers do the work of children. What you are doing is nothing great, he said. But not all mothers go to work. I am also a human. I get tired too. You have to help a little, said Hansika in a raised voice. Jeevan suddenly put the spoon on the table. I will not help. If you don't want to do housework, leave your job, he said. No, I will not leave my job. I was jobless for 3 years when Abhishek was young. I had to beg you for even 1 rupee. Whenever I asked for money, you used to give me money once, while the other time you didn't used to give me money. And you used to fight even when giving money. Enough is enough. Very argumentative. Today you started fighting again. Not me, you are fighting. Now leave me alone. Where did you get hold of me? Hansika said and left. She ate without talking and kept the rest in the fridge and slept next to her son. Abhishek was sleeping unaware of mom and dad's fight. Hansika stroked her son's hair and started thinking, my son is so innocent. It is enough if he is not spoiled by our quarrel. I feel ashamed to go out of the house. Neighbors look on in horror. The only way to have peace in the house is not to answer Jeevan. The wind was blowing loudly inside the room that night. Hansika's mind was reliving the lost events. She wanted to sleep, but could not sleep. Hansika Jeevan's was a love marriage. But after a few months, the desires and passions became like a mirage. Her heart ached for love as she looked around at the happy couple. Why not lead a successful married life? Before marriage, Jeevan used to chant her name day and night. He proposed marriage while she was doing her PhD. Seeing Jeevan, who was handsome and smart, her heart slipped like a foot slipping on moss. What was the use of his beautiful body in front of his mind, which was blacker than charcoal? If we don't get a divorce, we should put an end to our fights. Because the child's life should not be ruined. Waves of happiness were left behind. The reason for that is the two of us. When this thought came to Hansika's mind like a whirlwind, she got up and sat on the couch. She decided that she would never argue with Jeevan again. Jeevan must have stayed away from her because she was arguing. Suddenly her vision went outside the window and she saw light. There was a new beauty, a new spirit in nature. But Hansika was very tired as she did not sleep all night. Feeling heavy, she lay back down. But what is the use of sleeping? If there is peace and quiet, will you not fall asleep? It was her fault. She was fooled by Jeevan's beauty. How many boys would have given their lives for her? But she flowed towards Jeevan like a river. Although he has a lovely son, his condition is very sad. But now he does not long for happiness. She wanted to get up and ask Jeevan for a cup of coffee. But thinking that if he says no, she made for herself. Then she got her son ready for school and went to the gate of the colony. She took her son by bus. Then she sat in the veranda for some time. Just then Jeevan came and said, I have to leave soon. There is a special class. Give me breakfast soon, he said. Hansika wanted to tell that she could not make breakfast, but thinking that they would make a fuss about it, she asked, what do you have? Do you eat chapati or upma? Do you want to ask that too? I have a headache, that's why I'm asking. You always have a headache. Your only job is to make breakfast. There is an excuse for that too. Leave early. I will do it myself, said Jeevan. Hearing that, Hansika became silent. She wondered if this was Jeevan who was talking sweetly like honey. In the morning, he was not released from multiple bonds. She was forced to leave and did housework and was going to college. Sometimes he used to say, let's take a day off today, let's go around and have fun. Now he talks so harshly. Hansika quickly prepared breakfast and put it on the table without answering anything. She got ready quickly and ate tiffin and left. She used to go to college in her car. Jeevan's house was near the campus, so he used to walk. On that day, Hansika went to college and took leave, saying that she was not well and came home. Then she went to Jeevan's college and inquired about him with the professors. After saying hello to Rahul, Sir, now Jeevan is very angry about everything. I don't know what happened. Is there any tension in the college? He didn't say anything to me either, he said. And Rahul laughed. Nothing, Jeevan is always busy on the internet. The weather here is definitely normal, he said. Hansika also asked Akshay. He also said that Jeevan was always busy on his laptop. Then Hansika came to know that there was no tension in the college for Jeevan. Even in the house, she took out every almirah and looked, but nothing was useful. From that day on, Hansika did not allow disputes, quarrels, etc. to take place. She was looking after her son Abhishek very well. Now Jeevan started paying attention to her. Seeing her changed behavior, one day Jeevan asked, how did this dry river get flooded? Hansika smiled and replied, the stones of the fog are melting, so there must be a flood. Now I am not a fish caught in the fog. Water is water in all my four directions. Do you know? Hansika kissed Jeevan's neck lovingly. Jeevan looked at Hansika in amazement as love poured in all at once in the place of anger and dryness. Then said, what's wrong with you? How is this change suddenly? There must be a change. There should be an atmosphere of love, happiness, and peace in the house, she said and kissed her husband again. Jeevan lovingly pushed her hands away and said, let it be. I need to do some reading. Go to the computer room, he said. What is this all about? Always sit in the computer room. There is no better place to read than the internet, he said and went to computer room. Hansika went to the bedroom. The computer room was adjacent to the drawing room. There was another bedroom in it. There was a corridor in the middle. One room of the hall open to the outer veranda, the other to the hall. Jeevan kept his room locked whenever he worked on the internet. But that day the door was simply closed. She put her son to bed and slowly came to Jeevan's room and quietly stood behind him. She could not believe her eyes. Jeevan was engrossed in reading letters from his girlfriends one by opening a chatting website on the internet. Maybe he was doing this on his laptop in college as well. But Hansika did not know all this. Jeevan did not know that Hansika came into the room and stood behind him quietly. Hansika quietly held her breath and started reading everything from the back. Jeevan was flirting with not one, not two girlfriends. Instead, he invited 25-year-old Smita to a coffee day in Malleshwara on Sunday morning. Hansika could not believe her eyes after reading the invitation. She slowly came back to the room and started thinking how much Jeevan is playing with her life, flirting with so many girls. I won't let them do this anymore. She decided that tomorrow she would meet him and will catch him red handed on coffee day. That night she made Jeevan's favorite puri sagu and jamun. Jeevan was surprised to see Hansika's changed attitude. He tasted the stew and praised Hansika. Hansika said thanks and smiled. She was confused. The next day was Sunday. Jeevan was supposed to go to coffee day to meet Smita. After humming some song, he got dressed and told Hansika that he would go to Professor Rahul's house. Son Abhishek insisted that he would come with his father. Jeevan reassured him that he would take him around in the evening. After Jeevan left, Hansika left Abhishek at the house next door and told the maid to come in the afternoon. Jeevan had taken the scooter. He didn't ask Hansika for a car. This helped Hansika to achieve her goal. Hansika went to the coffee day and quietly sat on the back seat of Jeevan. She covered her face and started listening to Jeevan and Smita saying, "You are very beautiful, Smita ji. You are nothing less. You are fine. Don't call me you. You okay?" "Thanks," said Smita, smiling like a jasmine. "Why haven't you married yet?" "I have to marry you now, Jeevan." "How can you marry me? I am already married." "What did you say? You never told me that you are married." "You didn't ask, I didn't tell. I will know you as a lover and love you." Every word of Jeevan and Smita was ringing in Hansika's ears. Hansika felt like getting up and going to Smita and giving her a peck on the cheek. When Jeevan kissed Smita's hand, Hansika lost her balance and went to Smita and kissed her cheek. Jeevan was shocked. He hesitated. "Hansika, you, how did you come here? When did you come?" "I came when you came," Hansika said loudly. No words left in Jeevan's mouth. Hansika held his hand and said, Jeevan, you cannot keep any girlfriend. You should leave her. Enough flirting. Get up early and come home with me. Let's decide there, she said and took Jeevan by force. After reaching home, she found the cook had come and made tea and drank it. Then she went to the drawing room and sat on the sofa. She did not like to fight in front of the cook. At that time, Jeevan was not brave enough to face Hansika. He came and sat in front of Hansika with a sad face. After the cook left, Hansika stood in front of Jeevan and asked in a low voice, What is all this, Jeevan? You are a father, a husband, a lecturer, but like bad men, you chat with girls on the internet. You have no dignity, no respect. Why did you do this? She asked and looked at him for a while. Jeevan did not answer. Hansika got up and left angrily. The atmosphere was same till the evening. The son also went to his father and once to his mother and tried to talk to him. Sometimes he used to sit like a stone idol in front of the TV. Abhishek went to mom and said, What's wrong with you two? Why don't you talk? Today is Sunday. Why don't you play with me? He was asking. Suddenly he went to his mother, hugged her, held her chin, and asked, Mommy, did dad hit you again? Tell the truth. Dad is bad. Let us leave him alone. Let us go to another house. Hansika was silent. She was expecting a reply from Jeevan. Jeevan came to Hansika with heavy steps in the evening, then took her hands in his and said, Please forgive me, Hansika, I was very bored. Why were you bored? Hansika asked, releasing her hands. Because your nature is very sensitive. You have a lot of ego. You argue about everything. I get the support of my family even with words. Well, my nature is rough. Mine is wrong. But you have taken a very bad path and have spoiled your character and your honor. You are ruining yourself. Your son will follow the same path after seeing you. Jeevan folded his hands and begged for forgiveness. Please, Hansika, forgive me. I don't do this kind of mistake again, he said. Hansika went near Jeevan and said softly, Oh, I am sorry. But one condition. You must be like before. Jeevan made a cup of coffee for Hansika and said, Thank you for forgiving me. Take coffee and drink, he said. Then both of them started drinking coffee, trying to forget the past. Abhishek was playing on the carom board.